Welcome back, everyone, to TurboTax Canada's Facebook Live office hours. Can you believe tax season is here again?
I know, right?
Yeah, and with a few days left for NetFile, we thought this would be a great opportunity to get all your papers organized so that you can hit that file button on your return. Not everyone likes doing taxes.
What? Are you sure about that?
We understand completely. Taxes can be very stressful and confusing, depending on obviously your tax situation, but it doesn't have to be. I'd like to welcome Peggy Tsang.
Hi, everybody.
Our TurboTax tax expert. Peggy has 10 years of tax experience. So thank you for being with us here, Peggy.
I feel like you just aged me.
No, that was not the purpose. It's wisdom. Peky, can you share with everybody what's your favorite thing come tax time?
Oh, I guess there's a few. Okay, so my biggest one will be the budget, the federal budget, which is coming out next week, which I know a lot of people is like, why the budget? But I personally love it just because I'm a tax person and this is, what I do. And so with the new budget always comes, new credits, new deductions, or maybe new policy changes from the government's perspective. It kind of gives you an idea of what the government feels is important, like what, and it's sometimes reflective of what, we Canadians want to see, and then other times not so much. So I find that really interesting.
Yeah, and I think small businesses are very excited to see that come through,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
We've been hearing a lot about that all year, so it'll be interesting.
I know, I'm excited for it. Yeah. It's next week.
Oh, wow. So we'll be live for the next 45 minutes. Please make sure to send in your comments and questions to our Facebook Live feed. We'll try to get to as many as we can. And as always, we'll be picking a few selected winners randomly, depending on the questions that are coming in. So make sure to engage and send a lot of questions. To get started and allow some time for your questions to start coming in, we're going to go to our questions that we've been recently seeing in our community. So question number 1.
Let's see.
Yes. What forms and receipts should I gather in order to do my taxes?
So I get this question a lot, but really you kind of have to assess your own tax situation. And then most people, of course, have some T-slips, their T4 from work, T5s if you have any mutual funds or any interest from the banks and things like that. So your T-slips for sure, that's something that you have to keep in mind. And you should by now have already received maybe a notification from your work saying, oh, your T4 is ready, and also your RSP receipts, right? Because deadline for RSP contribution is next week. So if you still have some time to contribute if you have the room, and especially if you want to lower your tax your tax owing, which remind myself, I got to do that myself.
Is that March 1st, the
yes,
deadline?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Got to get my RSPs.
I know, me too. Got to count those dimes. Yeah. Of course, your medical receipts. A lot of people, you have to, maybe you don't have all of them, so this is a good time to go to your pharmacist and go, hey, can you print out some of those receipts for me? I've maybe lost some or misplaced them. Or if you have a child care receipts, for your daycare or, after school programs, things like that.
Oh, so you can actually go to the pharmacy and they'll print all your medical receipts for you.
I've done that,
especially
for my mom, because my mom, she doesn't keep in mind, she's always kind of scatterbrained. And so sometimes I was like, okay, you know what? I want to make sure that you have, you got everything. So I went to her pharmacist and I talked to him and he said, oh yeah, I can print a record. And they usually do. They're usually very nice and they usually have all of it in their system and it's just a matter of printing it off for you.
That's good. I misplace them all the time. So
I know, right?
That's good to know. Our next question, what's CRA my account and what is autofill my return?
So CRA my account is basically, I think of it as a repository of all of your tax information. It has a list of your T-slips. It has your RSP contribution room. It also has information about your Canada Child Benefits or your GST credits, things like that. But for me, the greatest thing about my account is the fact that you can access autofill my return. So autofill my return is a feature in our products. Basically, you download all of your tax information into the software. It populates it into your return, your T4 information, so you don't have to type it in, because sometimes if you have a lot of those slips, typing it in can take a lot of times. And the biggest mistakes I see people is like sometimes maybe they type in a 5 instead of a 6, and that has a big impact.
Yeah.
And so autofill honestly saves you time and makes sure that you don't have any mistakes.
So it automates the experience.
Exactly. So honestly, if you don't have
manual mistakes. Yeah.
If you don't have that big of a return or that complicated return, you could be done in 10 minutes with autofill.
Oh, wow.
You download everything, you make sure you review your numbers, double check, and then you can file.
And CRA account is free, right?
Yes,
you can sign up.
Completely free. You just need to sign up, and now's the time. Now is the time to go and sign up. I mean, there's still lots of time until the final deadline, April 30th. Mm-hmm. So really go do it now. And you just need a few pieces of information to sign up. For example, your social insurance number, your last year's return. And that's it, really.
And you can do it online?
And you can do it online, yeah. But if you need help, and if you get stuck online, then give them a call and really do it early so that you don't have.
I heard it takes 10 days to get like a code, right?
Yeah.
By mail, so you have to do it prior.
So do it early, and so that that everything is set up, so when it comes time to file or when you're ready to file, then it's all there. All the information is there for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And autofill my return is obviously in TurboTax, right?
Yes, exactly.
So it's available.
Yeah. It's in TurboTax, and you have to have my account in order to access autofill.
Okay. It's great to know.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. I purchased my TurboTax software. Why can't I file yet?
Well, NetFile doesn't actually open until next Monday, so February 26th. So if you're an early bird, which I know a lot of people are, you can file on Monday morning at 6 a.m.
Oh,
That's
wow.
when it opens, I know. Although I'm the one of those late persons. So
I don't know if I want to wake up at 6 a.m. to file my taxes.
But some people want to, especially if you're getting a refund. Why not, right?
Yeah.
Why not get the refund right away? But I know for most of us, we're probably still waiting for that last RSP receipt. So you're probably going to have to take a few days before you can get that final receipt to file. So, but if you do want to, February 26th, Monday.
Yeah. We see that question a lot on social media. People asking, why can't I file my taxes? But the idea is like, you can go in, prepare everything, and then you have to wait till NetFile opens.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So how long should you keep your income tax records for?
Oh, this is a good question because a lot of people think that once they file, then I don't need this information anymore. But it's in case that CRA wants your information. So you should be really keeping track of your files for about 7 years. I tell them 7 years out of precaution. So the general audit period is 3 years, but under extenuating circumstances, they can tack on another 3, which is 6. But then you add on an extra year because it's like the filing year is usually delayed, right? So 3 plus 3 plus 1, so 7. So out of just ample precaution, I tell people keep it for 7 years, and then after that, then you can.
So, and that's keep everything, right?
Yes, keep everything. A lot of times when CRA comes ask you, can we have more information about this? It's not because you filed incorrectly. It's just sometimes they just want to make sure that your receipts are matching up with their system or what you filed in. They just want more information. I know a lot of people get worried when they receive that letter from CRA. It's like, we want more. Can we see your tuition receipts, or can we see this and this? But you know what? It's sometimes just really for information purposes. They just want to double check. It's kind of their way of like making sure that people are keeping track or making people honest, I guess.
Okay. Next question, which you're gonna like. What are some big federal changes one should keep in mind when filing this year?
So one of the biggest one, which I don't know if I like or not, but they took away the transit credit.
Oh yeah,
I know, and I
really
love that
good
credit. I'm
especially
like
for students, right?
I know, and I'm a big subway user, so I really like that one.
Yeah.
So you can still claim for the first 6 months of the year, but after that, they took it away for federally. But for Ontario, for example, the Ontario government brought it back in for seniors. So for seniors, even though you can't claim federally for the last portion of the year, you can claim it for the provincial credit.
Oh, wow.
Right?
So seniors can claim
Yes,
still.
exactly. And there was a big change also on the tuition education credits as well. So that also got discontinued, or I don't know if that's the right word, but so that's something to also keep in mind. So whatever you've already accumulated, you can carry forward, but you can't accumulate more credits. And then, there's the big caregiver one, the Canada caregiver amount. That was a huge one.
Yeah.
So basically, if you have an infirm dependent that's dependent on you, then you can claim a credit for them.
So that's been added on, an extra credit.
Well, it's not an extra credit. They kind of changed 3 credits. They combined 3 credits into that one to kind of simplify the system, so that everything
so it's easier.
It's easier for everybody. Yeah, easier for filing. Yes.
Okay. All right. So those are good things to know. I think we're getting some questions from our audience. I have Julianne is asking, can I claim things like flower, paint, act under the home improvement? This was offered a few years ago. Flowers, paint. So I guess she's just had a home improvement on her new home, and she's done some paint and some work. Is she able to claim any of the credits? Any of the credits. Yeah.
So if your home improvement involves, let's say you work at home, then you can part of that is part of your deductions. So let's say you spruced up your office in your home, then yes, you can claim that deduction. So like for paints, I'm not sure, like maybe changing the carpets and stuff, or maybe you added an extra painting into your office. You bought a painting, then you can claim that as a deduction.
Okay, so only if you're working from home.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Not if you're just doing home renos. No. Okay. All right. That's good to know. We also have a question from Matt. I've been traveling a lot to Canada from the U.S. How do I determine my primary residence and if I have to pay taxes in Canada?
Oh, that's a very tricky one.
Yeah.
So there is the 6 months rule, basically. So basically, if you've been here for more than 6 months, then you're automatically kind of slotted in as a resident. So you have to file here.
But is it 6 months continuous, or is it if you're going back and forth and they add up to 6 months?
They add up to 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, because I think it's like 100. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's like 182 days. I'm sure my helpers will clarify that date. I always forget. It's 181, 82, 83, something along there. So I tell people it's around 6 months. So if all of your days in Canada add up to more than 6 months, then you're more than likely that need to file here as a resident, because it's like the hard and fast rule. That's like the deadline. So the people who are under 6 months though, then it's kind of factually based. So are you here, let's say you're planning on immigrating here, and you have a lot of ties here, then you would be considered a resident. Then you would have to file here.
Okay.
So under 6 months, it's not clear. It's just really based on your situation.
Okay. So this next message is for our viewers. If you share this Facebook Live with your friends now, you'll get a chance to win a Tim Horton card.
Ooh.
So you have to make sure to share it within the next minute, and we'll be awarding a winner. Next question. When should I get started on my taxes and why?
I tell people they should be thinking about taxes every day of the year.
That's difficult.
I know.
There's too many other things.
I know that's not realistic. So I tell people there's a few times of the year that I really want people to think about taxes. Is basically, and even like put in your calendar, at several intervals in the year to think about them, because one, you want to kind of assess your situation, right? You want to know, did I make sure that I saved all my receipts? Did I save all the paperwork that is needed for taxes? For example, if I'm selling my house, this year we have the rule that if you're selling your principal residence, that you have to report that now. You have to report that to the CRA. So
but you don't pay taxes on that, right?
You don't have to pay taxes if it was your principal residence for the entire time you were living there.
Okay.
So So for those people, obviously time to think about taxes is also when they're selling their house, because that means you have to make sure that you have those copies, those papers. So what I tell people is, like, depending on your situation, there might be times during the year that you should be thinking about it, other times not. So that would also depend. So for my mom, for example, I tell her, she always goes to the pharmacist at the end of the month. So I tell her, can you please make sure to gather those receipts at the end of the month? Okay. So that's a good time for her.
Yeah.
Other people, for example, a student, they get those tuition receipts, right?
Yeah.
So for them, I tell them, like, think about your taxes at that point in time. So to me, it's not really just about, when a particular date, but also about your situation. The other rule is at the end of the year. At the end of the year is always a good time too. Should you make extra donations? For the donation credit, right? And then of course RSP time. This is the RSP season. A lot of people are thinking about putting in RSPs and gathering those information. And this is a great time to go into my account to check. Oh, how much room do I have? Can I contribute more?
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. So RSPs, donation time, and at the end of every month, make sure to keep a folder and keep your receipts in there, so that come tax time, you're not scrambling and trying to get all your papers together. Which I do every year.
I know there's so many people do, and I feel like if they do it that way, that means they may lose out on some credits.
That's true.
And they may lose out on some deductions, and so make sure you gather every penny. I know it takes a lot of work. But this is the time. Think about it. And of course, April 30th is the big deadline. So make sure you have
them
your
ready
file.
by then.
Yeah, I
know. Yes, for sure. Okay, so next question: when is the best time to file?
What?
So we know net file opens on the 26th.
Yes.
But when is the best time? When are your papers ready in CRMI account? When is the time to file? Right.
So if you have a big refund coming, obviously file sooner rather than later, because you want to get that money, right? Who doesn't want that money? But if you're one of those people that are contributing at this point, RSPs, like I still want to try to contribute, then I'm going to wait until I have my final RSP receipt before I file. So make sure you have all of your papers and make sure you have all your receipts and you're ready to file. And that's when you try. And of course, April 30th. April 30th is the big deadline. So if you really procrastinated, really that is the last day to file. So please go and file.
And does it affect when you get your tax refund? Depending on when you file, if you wait too long or that doesn't matter?
Yeah, so I get asked that. So it does take some time for the CRA to process, but usually they're pretty good now with everything automated, so you can get it usually within 10 business days, your refund. Okay. But of course, sometimes maybe there's a glitch in the system, especially at the end when a lot of people are filing. Yeah. You just never know.
Yeah,
right?
So that's why it's better to do it early.
Do it earlier, yeah, exactly. And then of course, there's people who they forget to file, and they're end of the year, and then sometimes they can't net file anymore because they have to paper file because they close the system sometimes, right? After a few years, so my word is just file on time when you're ready with all your papers, which is around now. Because the longer you wait, the more likely that those papers are gonna be misplaced, and you don't remember quite clearly what happened during the year. So I tell people, file when you have all your papers, but file within that year. Within the time frame.
We have a question from Germany Watson. I use TurboTax every year. Is it a good idea to have someone from TurboTax review it once I complete all necessary information?
So that depends on you, right? I mean, so this is true story. I've actually been using TurboTax since I was a high schooler. When I was in high school, I was using TurboTax to file my parents' taxes.
So you were doing your parents' taxes?
Yes, my parents' taxes. So, and at that point, honestly, I would have loved somebody to review my work. Yeah, because I just wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I was doing it correctly, But a lot of times, a lot of people's situation are the same year after year. So I tell them, if they're same year after year, if you had that one-time review, then I don't think that you necessarily needed another time, right? Because your tax return won't be that different. So for example, I've been working here for a few years. So I have a T4. I mean, I'm not self-employed. I don't have a side business. So my tax situation isn't going to change, you know. So if I was unsure in the first year, then yes, I would get a review. Or something, you know, big happened during the year. Let's say you started your business that year, or let's say you had like a child.
Life-changing moment.
A life-changing moment. Those
married,
are the moments. Yeah,
child,
exactly.
divorce.
Yeah. So getting married is a big one. You know, your tax situation is really different that year because you're now filing jointly with your spouse. So at that point in time, you want somebody to review. Maybe there's something that you don't know. And like those are the time. And the great thing about our assisted SKU is that those people are there to help you. They're supposed to answer all of your questions, and that's the time. That's the time to ask them all the question. Oh, what should I look for? You know, what are the things that I should think about the next year? But once you have that 1 year change, usually the following years, you know, probably very similar until the next big event. Maybe after marriage, usually it's like having a child is the next big event. Yeah. So that's when I tell them, if you have big events, those are the years that you should, you know. Other than that, you know, we try to alert you for all of the new credits and new deductions, you know, right up front, so you can, like, you know, see if it applies to you. You know, our profiling, you know, if you answer all those questions and walk through our review, then you should be good to go. But of course, if you're unsure, like I was when I was a high schooler.
Yes. Or you're filing for the first time.
Or you're filing for the first time.
So for sure, you want that just assurance.
Yes, exactly.
And that confidence.
And like we have so many avenues for you to come, like, you know, for help. You know, we have our care line, or if you want, you're more tech savvy, you know, like students, you know, I tell them, use Answer Exchange. Answer Exchange, we like, I'm one of the people who answers those questions on Answer Exchange. You know, so there's a lot of different ways for you to communicate with us.
And this year we also launched our assisted review, right? So
and the chat ads, I love that.
Yes.
So exciting.
So that is an awesome way to be able to communicate and speak to a tax expert and get advice on credits and deductions that you should be getting. So that's something that people can check out as well.
I think you should take this one and tell them about the Smart Look, because it's so exciting. It's so cool.
Tell them.
So this year we're launching a new feature where you can actually see a person live on your screen and help you and ask you questions. It's so great. I wish I had that one back then. This is like, and you're talking to a live person. It's not a robot, so you know you get the confidence that there's somebody here really listening to you and paying attention to your file and your return.
Yeah, and they can circle on your screen. They don't see you, but you can see them, and they can see just your screen. They have access to your return, and they can circle, and they can direct you in the right place. And Tara's asking us, she's saying, I didn't know that it was possible. Is it a paid flat rate or hourly? It is a flat rate, and you can use and access the Smart Look feature as much as you want during your experience. So just to let them know, Our next question is from Laurent. Would TurboTax work for me having both Canadian and U.S. income?
Okay, yes. If you're a resident in Canada, you need to file a Canadian return. So in the Canadian return, you also have to report your U.S. income. But you may also need to file a U.S. return. So you would need to use our U.S. version of TurboTax.
Okay, all right. And Tim Allen is asking, I'm an Uber driver. What version do I need to use? Also, do I file that tax return with my personal and family tax return?
Oh, very good question.
That's an awesome question.
So in Canada, we don't have a family filing. You still file. We tell people as a couple, you're supposed to file jointly, but really you're still filing individually your own return. But we just kind of do your return together so that we can optimize your deductions. So you know your spouse can take this deduction and you take another, sort of something like that. So from your self-employed, if you're not incorporated, then yes, you have to report that income on your own return. So if you're incorporated, then you have to file a corporate return. But if you're just self-employed, like most people with Uber or Lyft, they just have to report it on their own return. And so yes, you just report that income. And great exciting thing this year is that we revamped our self-employed SKU. You know, we've really improved it quite a bit, just because we know this is something that we're getting more and more Canadians who are, on contract, who have, a side hustle, So we really try to like make sure that we did that very well so that we're helping people. And of course, if you have any feedback, we're here, we're listening, and we're always constantly trying to improve our products.
Yep. And we have 3 different SKUs for self-employed. So you've got the do it yourself, right? So if you feel that you can do your taxes on your own, then we have that available. If you feel like you need some help and assistance, like we mentioned, we've got the Smart Look feature so that you can ask and then get tax advice. And then we also have the fully assisted, which is basically someone doing your taxes and filing on your behalf. So make sure to look into that. I know we had, for the Tim Horton card, I just wanted to announce that Chrissy Vanoff was our winner.
Yay, Chrissy!
Yay. We'll also be announcing winners for free TurboTax online software. Our next question is by Kim. I moved last year and I'm not sure that my old employer has my new address. Is there any other way for me to find out my T4 amounts?
Oh, great question.
Yes.
So your employer and like any of the financial institutions, anyone who's actually issuing a T-slip actually has to submit that to the CRA. So if you're not sure, you can always actually sign up for my account like we talked about earlier, and actually your T-slip should be there, your employer. And then if you don't see it, then I would say give your employer a call and tell them, hey, can you send me a copy of it? But generally, their deadline should have passed already, so they should have submitted your T4 already.
Okay, great. We also have a question from Katie James. I'm a freelance artist. Can I claim business expenses if I don't make over $30,000 a year from that work? Okay.
So the $30,000 number is actually come from the HST. So people are like, oh, because there's an option to file the simplified option versus the full HST. So that's why people kind of grab onto the $30,000 number. But in general, you can just but that is separate from your actual income tax. So HST is a separate tax than your income tax. And so in TurboTax, what we do is actually file your income tax. So in there, if you're self-employed, you actually have to enumerate all of your income as well as all of your deductions. So one of the things I do caution people, though, is that a lot of people think that, oh, I have my own business, I can deduct everything. That's not true. Your deduction has to be related to your business. So I'm just saying, don't go crazy with all the deductions. It actually has to be related to your business. It actually has to be something that you use. So if you went out for coffee with a client, sure, that is deductible. But if you're just going out with your family for dinner, that's not business related, then that's not deductible.
We have our next question from Ben Alex. Hi folks, as an organization, can I have a TurboTax expert come to my workplace and give me a rundown for the best way to file my taxes? We wish we could provide that service.
I know. But we do have Follow Me Homes, right?
Yeah,
that's
small business.
That's part of our culture here. So what we do is actually we want to know about you. So I hope like one of my helpers will reach out to you, especially if you're interested, because we want to know how you're doing your business and how you file your taxes, which will give us insight as to how we should be improving our products.
Okay, before we take our next question, I'm going to turn this question to the audience. Earlier on, Peky had mentioned how long you should keep your income tax record for. So comment and send your answers in our Facebook feed, and you'll get a chance to win an Indigo gift card.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Maybe get some books on taxes. All right, for our next question, I think somebody was asking about where can they claim rent, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so Lisa is asking, where does my rent go under on my return?
So I'm assuming you're asking from the perspective you're a renter and you pay rent. Okay, so in Ontario, you do get access to the Ontario benefit. Gosh, we call it ONBEN in here. Sorry, I'm so used to all the acronyms here. So basically in there, that's where you're going to put in your rent, and that's where you can get your credits.
Okay. So our next question. Hi, with TurboTax Standard, how many tax returns can I do? And is there a limit where the count is basically if the income was $25,000?
Okay. So it depends if you're using our online, our TurboTax online, or our desktop product. So on our desktop product for the standard, we allow you to have 8 returns that have income of $25,000 or over. And then for our TurboTax Standard, I believe you pay per return,
Yes.
but we also give you a discount if you're paying as a couple. But we also have the free. We have TurboTax Online free as well as TurboTax Desktop free. So those are also options for people.
Especially with simple
with simple returns. I would highly suggest you try that out. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if you think like, I feel I need a little bit more guidance and a little bit more help, then you can always upgrade at that point in time.
Yeah, that's true.
And then if at that point you still need more help, then please come and talk to us. We have the assistance now. We have the Smart Look.
Great thing with TurboTax Free this year is it also has the autofill my return feature.
Exactly.
So you can actually get all your information transferred from my CRA account automatically into the return. So it will make it very simple and very easy to use. Yeah. Our next question. I'm a student in my second year. I work a part-time gig, mostly earning tips. Do I need to file, and what can I claim?
So as a student, you should definitely file because that's how you're going to get your tuition credits, right?
Okay.
So yes,
even if you're not working?
You are working, right? So even though you're getting tips, that's still considered income. So you're supposed to report that. And it's good to report that because that means, you are going to start earning RSP room. You may not need that now, but you're going to need that later. So you don't want to be caught in the situation where because your employer may also be audited, and they may also find out, these people in general are probably getting this amount of tip, and then they can go through the records. So please do report those. That's still income. So any kind of income you're supposed to report on your income tax return.
Okay, great. Our next question is from Tim Allen. If I have a HST number and a business number, does that mean I'm incorporated? I had to get one in July 1st, 2016.
No, not necessarily. So you could be self-employed and still have a business number and HST number.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you're incorporated.
Okay.
So if you're incorporated, you should know. You should have a separate incorporation papers. You should have gone through the lawyers to get those papers done.
You have to sign up the company.
Exactly.
And it's like setting up a corporation.
Yeah. So there's a lot more work to get incorporated. So if you're incorporated, you should know. You should have gone through and see a lawyer, maybe even an accountant.
Okay, great. Our next question. Let's talk about moving around for a job. What can I claim from a move?
Okay. So if you're moving, especially if you're moving for more than 40 kilometers, then you can claim your moving expenses, especially if it's for a job or for studies. But you have to claim against the income for that job. Does that make sense? No. So let's say I change jobs and I'm going to work for corporation ABC.
Okay.
So I can claim my moving expenses, but those expenses has to be deducted against whatever I earn from corporation ABC. Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right.
So things that you can think about when you're moving is your moving expenses. How much you're paying the movers, things like that, or even including if you have to travel to see the new place. For example, if you have to pay for hotels, or if you have to pay gas because you have to travel, or maybe you're flying, those trips can count towards your expenses as well. Or any meals. Let's say your move takes a few days and you're living out of the motel and you have to eat, those also counts as well.
So storage for your stuff while you're waiting.
Exactly.
That's great to know. That's awesome. Okay, our next question. Can I start my tax return right now?
Yes, you can start at any time. And I also tell people, it's my best friend always asks me this. Okay. She's like, oh, well, I don't know how much I need to contribute to make sure that I don't owe any taxes. So I tell her, you know what? You should start it right now. You can go on to our TurboTax online. You don't have to pay until you file anyways. And then that way you can get a very accurate picture of how much you need to contribute into RSPs to lower your tax owing. So I tell people, you just go in, and always, if you don't ever plan on filing your own taxes, it's always good to know about your own tax situation. And the best way to know your own tax situation is actually doing it yourself. And again, like I said, we have the free option or even the standard. You can go through the whole system and you don't have to pay until you file. So that way you can say, you get prompted with those questions, and those questions will remind you, oh, I should look into this. I didn't know about this.
We have a lot of people on social that get surprised that you don't actually have to pay for the product to start it and try it until you file, right?
And then a lot of people, when they try, they realize how easy it is.
Yes, that's true.
And it's like, really, you can do it yourself. And like I said, if you really have questions, we're here to help. We have our answer exchange. We have our smart look this year. Oh, I wish I had that, honestly. It's so exciting to have that. So,
and our blog,
and
with a lot of tax tips and articles.
Exactly. Or email me. I'll answer your questions.
Peky will personally answer all your questions. John Anders is asking, can I file with my wife together in TurboTax?
Yes, and we always tell couples to file together because that's how our system is going to optimize your returns. So if you're married or you're a couple, then file together, file your return. So at the end, when you're coming to the end, you still have to click on the button individually, saying I'm filing my return and then I'm filing my spouse's return. But when you're preparing your return, you're preparing it together. So.
And can you explain to them a little bit on why it's a good thing to file together? Like, what are the benefits out of it?
So the benefits is that we optimize your return together. So maybe, your spouse is taking, this credit and you're taking other credit. So we do all that calculations for you. Whereas if you're filing separately, and as some people do for whatever reasons, then you kind of have to know, each other's numbers, and we ask you those extra questions, and then you have to look at each other's return. Instead, if you do it together, we do all the calculations for you. So why not let us do the work for you? Yeah,
because I know, like, for medical expenses, it makes sense with the spouse with the least income, right? Exactly. To put that on their return. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can claim for each other, and you can get more credits for that, right? Yeah, and more deductions. What about freelancers? So how are my taxes different if I'm freelancing instead of a 9-to-5 gig?
So if you're 9 to 5, then you get your T4, and on your T4 it automatically has your EI deductions, your CPP deductions. So all of that is already taken care of. Whereas if you're a freelancer, you kind of have to take care of that yourself. So you have to kind of make sure that you allot enough money at the end of each month to make sure that you can submit those payments yourself. So that's one of the major difference that kind of people get caught off guard that, I actually owe more money than usual. So that's one thing. And of course, on your return, you also have to report both your income and your deductions for your business. Whereas usually if you're an employee, you can only deduct employment expenses if your employer has signed the form, I believe it's T20, I want to say T22, 2200, I think. Don't quote me on that. I'm really bad with the form names. So unless you have that signed from your employer, you actually can't take any employment deductions.
Oh, okay. Oh. I'm just going to announce our second winner, Julie Ann White.
Ooh,
so she got the
Julie.
Indigo card. Yeah. Thanks for participating today, Julie. We have a question from Tim Allen. Is there a spot in the self-employed section that I can pay HST directly to the Ontario government? Or is that something separate?
No, that is something separate that you have to do outside of our product. So our product is not for the HST portion, it's just for your income tax.
Yeah, because that's not something that you file with your return, correct?
No,
that's
it's something
completely
separate.
Different department.
Exactly.
Yes. What's the one thing that we can do today to make preparing our taxes easier? So what would you advise them?
My
today,
account. Sign up for my account right now, because honestly, with signing up for my account, then you get access to autofill. And this is true story. So I did my father-in-law's taxes one year, and I did those typo mistake, and I got reassessed.
Ooh,
I know,
wow.
it's so bad.
I hate reassessment.
I know, and it was literally a 7 and a 6. It was just a typo.
Oh God.
I know, and it was like, I wrote to CRAs like it was an honest mistake. I mean, the tax is a good thing. I think it was like about $600. I was $600 off still.
But still, yeah.
I know.
Painful.
I felt so bad. So sign up for my
Yeah.
account so that you can have autofill, and then everything is downloaded, so you don't make the mistake that I did. Yeah, and then that way you can, file in peace. You know that you have it right. And you review, and it's just so much faster.
Yeah.
It's so much faster.
And actually, my husband was looking for his assessment for last year, and he couldn't find it. And then he went in, and it's all there.
It's
right?
all there.
Everything's
All your
there.
information's there.
And he's like,
Yeah.
"Why are you asking us for anything? Everything's there."
I know, and I tell people, because I'm like, oh, do you know how much tax-free savings account room do you have? Or do you know how much RSP room? They don't know.
They have no idea.
It's on my account.
That's
it's
true.
right there.
Yeah. So Tara's asking, where do you sign up for my account? Good question.
Good question. So go on to CRA's website, and then you can sign online. You just need a few pieces of information, so like your social insurance number, your date of birth, your last year's return, because they usually ask that, privacy questions like online 221. What was your number? Something
Your
like
SIN
that.
number, right?
Yeah. And then if you still need help, if you run into, I don't really understand, then you can always give them a call too, and they'll help you through that.
But it's very easy. I did
Very,
mine
very
online.
easy.
Yeah.
It
You
takes
just
10 minutes, especially if you have all your information.
And you just go to my account. You search my account in the CRA site.
Yeah.
And it's all there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, great. I think we're almost wrapped up, right?
Really? Already?
Almost there.
Oh, that was
We
fast.
have a few more, but we're gonna take 2 more questions, I think.
All right.
When is my last day to file as a self-employed?
Okay.
That's a good one.
So your last day to file as a self-employed is June 15th. But, and this is a big but, if you owe money, you still have to pay before April 30th, or on April 30th is the last day to pay. Like, you don't have to file your return, but you still have to pay.
But you have to know to be able to
Exactly.
pay. A lot of
Exactly.
self-employed do not know that. They
So-
always wait till June 15th and then they get dinged.
Yeah, exactly, with the penalties. So what I tell people, okay, sometimes, maybe you can't because maybe you haven't finalized your numbers, maybe you haven't closed your books. And that's understandable. And that's why there's a delay in terms of filing June 15th. But you still need to estimate. You need to estimate. So go into our product and estimate your numbers to make sure that you know whether you're getting a refund or whether you have to pay. And if you have to pay, put that money into CRA. If you overpay, you can get that back. But
That's
if you,
true.
So don't underpay. Make sure, you at least pay the right amount or overpay a little so that you don't get penalized.
And for RRSPs, what is the best way for someone to calculate how much they should pay into their RSPs, right?
Oh, see, that it's so hard. Like, really, there's so many factors. Depends on, your family situation, your tax situation, how many deductions, how many credits. So that's why I tell people, go into TurboTax. Use that as your RSP calculator. Because
we actually have an RSP calculator
Exactly,
this year. Yeah, so
right?
you can actually search, go to Google and search TurboTax RSP calculator, and you can find out.